The subject line was nothing but blank white space, as if the sender had forgotten what words were for. No preheader, no emoji, not even a spammy hey. Just a blue dot and Elliot Man, a name that rustled like a plastic grocery sack in my head, familiar, noisy, and a little embarrassing to be seen with. I was cocooned in the hand-stitched quilt my aunt made before we stopped doing holidays together. Phone brightness turned down to a sliver. It was one of those Chicago nights that pretends to be quiet. You hear nothing and everything. The radiator's polite coughs, a siren smearing the distance, the blue line complaining through the steel ribs of winter. I should have been asleep. Instead, I was elbow-deep in the infinite scroll, a recipe reel, a cat with too much gravity, an HR meme that would get me fired if I laughed out loud. The blue dot pulsed. 1. I tapped the subject. Blank. The message unfurled like a cheap magic trick. From Elliot Man to Maya Ortiz. Subject. Hey, long time. If you still play this stuff, I have something for you. It's early. Please don't share. E-Link. Evergreen beta Windows. Zip. Still play this stuff. I smirked. In high school, I'd sunk entire bus rides and Saturday afternoons into visual novels, chasing endings like coupons. Persona summers, Renpai winter breaks, that Latot's dream where everyone thought branching dialogue would save us. Elliot, though, I didn't remember him in my gaming orbit. He'd been in my English class, maybe, the kid who did extra credit for fun. Thin wrists, a tragedy beard that never filled in. We'd liked the same poem once for opposite reasons. He had a way of smiling like approval was a finite resource and he was saving you one unit. I checked the link. Not a public drive. A private host. Passwordless. The marketer in me flinched. The Midwesterner in me shrugged. One more micro-reckless choice in a life of abiding by traffic signals. I should have closed the phone. Instead, I rolled onto my stomach and opened my laptop, the one with 2 stickers, a faded support your local library, and from a table at C2E2, a Chibai sloth wearing a cape. The screen woke with the weak, accusatory light of a coworker who's been on since 9. Download. 5 minutes. The bar lunged to 47%, retreated to 5%, settled at 11% like it had sat down hard. I texted my sister, "You up?" Deleted it. I only text her when something is wrong. Nothing is wrong, I told myself. Curious is not wrong. The zip decompressed with a puff. A folder named Evergreen Beta, and inside an executable with a leaf icon and the kind of confidence you only have before QA. A EULA popped like a jump scare. By proceeding you agree to non-disclosure, do not stream, record, or post. I scrolled by muscle memory. Then it opened. I didn't realize how starved I was for color until Evergreen fed me. Not neon, glow. A window onto a night sky poured across my screen the way syrup finds the slope. The crescent moon was not a perfect arc. It had a thumbprint. The stars breathed. Someone had drawn these, actually drawn them, not leaned on a shader. The UI traced itself in soft lilac, 4 dialogue slots nested like stacked Polaroids, and a save icon that was a tiny jar with a paper label that read later. There was no voice acting, only the sound a high school art teacher's room would make if you distilled it. Pencils whispering, a chair leg negotiating a scuff mark, an AC unit pretending it wasn't about to die. The title card drifted forward on a track of vaporwave guitar. Evergreen, scripted, decisive, a little earnest. I clicked new game. A smooth zoom, like a cinematographer who knows you're breathing. The skyline of reeds crossing introduced itself in long exposure. the kind of Midwestern town that realtors call walkable. Scalloped rooftops, a trail along a river that knew its boundaries, a water tower with an unambitious slogan, "Nice to see you again." Past it, the highway shrugged off toward somewhere else. White text on purple background, "Maya, you're back, Mads, try not to vanish this time." The protagonist's name was Maddie, Mads to friends. 18. The character art didn't announce itself, it lived. A girl with hair like the underside of a maple leaf, soft brown with a memory of red, band shirt tucked into thrifted jeans. She was beautiful the way you recognize someone after they've cut their hair and you finally see their face. The opening scene was a first-person ride home. The inside of a car whose cracked vinyl had a clean honesty. Sun smudged itself across the windshield. A hand, my hand, in-game, adjusted a vent and caught the light. In the rearview mirror, the edges of a mother, a presence more than a person, asked, "Big year." The line floated in text, but I could feel the breath it rode. Then the house. A bedroom with pinned Polaroids. There, a diner, the school facade, a coffee shop with a chalkboard sign announcing a pun I could forgive. The map was a collage, memories magneted into a playable corkboard. The tutorial whispered instead of barked. "Click the places that hum to you," it said. At the bottom of the screen, a phone icon pulsed gently. I clicked the diner. The camera slid to the door with a polite bell that implied a bell, not a WAV file. The counter gleamed. The waitress sprite had a wedding ring and forearm freckles and the kind of smile people wear when rent just went up. "First day back," she typed. "Pancakes cure jet lag." The game offered me 3 dialogue choices, all written with the persuasive humility of a real teenager trying not to annoy a grown-up. I was charmed before the boy walked in, a hand first, then a duffel sling, then a face assembled like patience. "Ren, I was hoping you'd be here." Childhood friend archetype. They went with freckles. Not infantile, not the dot-to-dot kitsch of an ad. The game gave him the kind of asymmetry you believe. One cheek crowded, the other uncommitted. His hair was the dark of a November sidewalk after rain. T-shirt with a team logo that looked convincingly licensed until you read it. Reads across an invented animal that might never win regionals. I clicked the tease him option. He smirked, text box violet, "Maddie, you stalking my pancakes." "Ren, I would never stalk, I linger, it's classier." It was good. The cadence knew how teens are funny when they don't try. The choices were more like lenses. Nudge warmth, nudge distance, nudge the joke. My save reflex twitched. I clicked the little jar icon. It made a glassy clink. In my apartment, the radiator exhaled as if it agreed. The school hub felt like someone who'd actually been inside one after the paint dries. Banners for clubs that didn't pretend to be Hogwarts. Halls with water fountains that didn't work unless you hit them on the side. The soundtrack shifted to that lo-fi playlist that YouTube channels set to a loop and forget, only. It wasn't pass-through. The hi-hat had dust. The bass stumbled on a crack and smiled, kept walking. I met Liv near the trophy case. Her sprite adjusted her ponytail, and the hair actually resisted for a second the way real hair does against elastic. Her text respected the comma. "Liv, journalism elective isn't a class. It's a call and response with the universe. You in?" The coffee shop was later. I took the long way, exhaust turning the air into soup. Theo wiped a milk wand with the forearm economy of someone who needed 3 more hours in the day. His text had the seamed sarcasm of a person who clowns to hide the tired. "Theo, Maddie, Same order, or are we live streaming a personality reinvention? When I clicked him too many times just to see, his sprite actually didn't appear, then popped in from the wrong side of the counter with a speech bubble that read, "Aren't you tired of stalking me?" I laughed out loud, ruining my landlord's night one floor down. I thought, nice. A dev with jokes. I should have stopped there. Saved, slept, thrived at my job in the morning by sending a Slack with 3 bullet points and exactly 1 exclamation mark. Instead, I kept playing. Midnight's shoulders slipped toward 1 o'clock. The mini-mystery surfaced, gentle as a boy. Food poisoning had wiped a third of the senior class. Not dire, comedic. An undercooked bake sale, a prank gone medium wrong. The game promised an achievement if you solved it fast. Liv tugged me down a hallway. Ren offered a ride. Theo made it cool to admit you didn't know. I solved it because I remember exactly what a walk-in freezer smells like, and because a sprite in the background had the wrong shoes for someone innocent. The reveal made the culprit blush, text bouncing like he could feel his heartbeat. The confetti animation was hand-drawn and a little dorky and perfect. Badge earned. Not your first rodeo. I grinned like I'd been seen. It was around then that something shifted. Not a jump scare, a tilt. Ren lingered at the edge of the frame after a scene cut. It would have read as a performance choice if sprites were actors. His eyes didn't track Maddie, they tracked me. He blinked, not the tidy eyelid flip of a loop, slowly like someone thinking to blink. If I'd been hunched in the text, I might have missed it, but I was counting freckles. I do that when I like a face, I inventory it so I can keep it later. The text box stalled. An ellipsis. Another. On the third. My collection of domestic white noises. Fridge hum, radiator sigh, upstairs neighbor's foot, hollowed out. For a second I felt the building listening. A new line appeared that wasn't aligned to the UI grid. Just a hair low, a hair right. Ren, please don't leave me running. I waited for the punchline, an achievement pop named Idle Thoughts, a wink from the designer, nothing. The lo-fi track hiccuped, then kept walking. I clicked a comfort him choice. It didn't trigger. I clicked joke. The choice box slid an inch away from my cursor, coy as a cat. Ren's smile tried to hold. He did that thing you do when you don't want a leak. His freckles didn't change count. I needed them to. My screen dimmed a notch. Windows doing Windows, I told myself. I bumped the trackpad. The game brightened, but something about the glow was colder. I saved. Jar. Clink. I hovered over quit and found that quitting required you to go back to the title screen to confirm. A quality of life bug in any other game. In this one, it felt like the difference between stepping off a curb and stepping into traffic you didn't measure. I quit. The title card returned, evergreen. The leaf icon breathed. Something buzzed. My phone, face down on my quilt, vibrated against the stitch. I flipped it. A notification in a font I didn't recognize, thin, elegant, with a straight-backed lowercase t. Unknown, you up. I locked the screen, unlocked it like that would change the physics. The notification was gone. My message list was vanilla. Sibling banter, a meme from my boss I had dutifully hearted, a DoorDash apology for the fries I didn't order. I turned back to my laptop. The game was still on the title screen. The leaf drew breath. My apartment exhaled with it. That's not how breath works, I thought, and then, because this is how you survive being scared alone at 1:22 a.m. I said out loud, "Okay, Maya, cool, you're tired." I clicked continue anyway. The camera placed me in the school hall. The lo-fi halted mid-snare like a kid at a crosswalk, then didn't resume. The sound effects still worked. The locker thunked when I clicked it. The fluorescent fixtures buzzed blue. I went to the main classroom even though the tutorial had told me it's closed during character arcs. The door opened. Inside, Ren, Liv, Theo, arranged like they had bumped into each other and decided not to make it awkward. Their default poses, except for the faces. Ren was speaking, text boxes sprinting so fast I could only catch every fourth verb. He was angry. Not cartoon angry, not meme angry, a person whose brain had decided to drop politeness to lift something heavy. Liv's mouth lifted at one side, a smile that meant document first, care later. Theo stopped rolling his eyes at a line I hadn't read. I pressed PRTSC. The screenshot caught a sentence fragment, tired of living the same Tuesday. I pressed it again, blurry this time. Stuck, we're stuck, like an update that never finishes. My stomach compressed around a center of gravity I didn't remember installing. Ren turned, not toward Maddie, toward me. His lip curled, a hard thing to draw, a harder thing to earn, a hard thing to draw, a harder thing to earn, a hard thing to draw, a harder thing to earn. It would have read as an insult if it didn't look so humanly hurt. The next line of text didn't cleanly occupy the box. It bled into the border, bolded, not kerned right. Ren, what are you doing here? No question mark. A statement made of a question because questions require hope. I wanted stupidly to type back. I clicked through responses that didn't exist. I tried to open options. The menu slid out halfway and froze like a tongue on a cold pole. Ren kept talking, his lines arriving in stutters as if the code had to push them uphill. Ren, shouldn't you be playing the mini games? The contempt wasn't for me. It was for a life that reduced him to a loop. He turned back to Liv and Theo. Please, the box said, please believe me. Liv grinned too brightly and kicked a desk over. It clattered with adult mass. She pointed at it like a magic trick. Free will, her text read. Theo's apron reappeared mid-eye roll. I laughed once, a collapsed parachute of a sound. I could not feel my hands. I reached for quit again. Before I could, a sprite hopped the text box. Ren, up close is a strange direction for a drawing. He held there and the screen recorded the existence of his breath by not recording it. Ren, hey, Ren, don't leave me. I closed the laptop. The hinge clicked. The faintest wind from the L snuck in through the sash that doesn't seal, carrying someone's leftover conversation and a smell that said salt trucks would have worked in the morning. I pressed the laptop lid like it might lift. When I opened it, the battery indicator had the audacity to be fine. The title screen had the audacity to be calm. The leaf breathed. I could not. I clicked quit all the way out. The desktop returned like a town after a parade. My phone buzzed again. Same font that didn't belong to Apple. Unknown. Can you help me find my body? I set the phone face down slowly, as if speed might crack my countertop understanding of reality. The knock that followed was not loud. 3 gentle, neighborly taps, then 2. The rhythm made no sense until I remembered the accept sound from Evergreen's menu, soft chimes, 3-2. I walked to the door and peered through the peephole into the fisheye night. The hallway looked like an apartment hallway, tan paint having a crisis about beige, a red exit light overselling itself. The shape outside my door had the clean, cursory edges of a character select silhouette, the kind you fill later. My phone buzzed on the console table, demure as a cat posing like it was invited. Unknown, Maya, it's me. Unknown, can you help me find my head? I rested my forehead against the door as if the wood could teach me what matter is. The grain was real. My breath made its own fog in the peel of weather strip. Somewhere outside, the city coughed up a late train. Behind me on the desk, my monitor woke from sleep without being touched. A window opened, File Explorer, polite as a valet, and a path auto-typed itself, each letter arriving as if considered. C. /users /Maya /desktop /evergreen beta /assets /actors /. The cursor hovered on a single file, Ren, actor. Not selected, not mine, not yet. The knock sounded again, 3, then 2, and the accept chime chimed in my head in harmony, the way a jingle wires itself to the part of you that buys things. I should never have opened it, I thought, meaning the email, the zip, the lid, the night, the kind part of my brain that thinks any of this can be fixed. My phone buzzed one more time. I let it. The message arrived in the wrong font. Please. The morning after the empty subject line night, Chicago felt like a browser with too many tabs, bright, functional, a little hot around the edges. My kettle whistled a thing I pretended was cheerful. I ate cereal dry out of the box and stared at my closed laptop like it was a roommate I wasn't speaking to. When I finally opened it, the operating system yawned and put on its face. No auto launch, no jump scare. I clicked Evergreen on purpose, the way you touch a bruise to check whether it still belongs to you. Title card, leaf breathing. I waited for the strange font notification to shimmy across my phone screen. Nothing. For a second I felt childish for having anthropomorphized a pop-up. Then I clicked continue. A tutorial frame slid in as if not to startle me. Tutorial, welcome back Mads, choose a hub to explore. Hubs hum when they are ready. Tip, warm people with warm places. Tip, a secret is a shortcut if you hold it gently. The map flickered to life in the familiar corkboard collage, diner, school, coffee shop. A new strip of blue-gray labeled Riverwalk, the painterly river wrinkled like someone had breathed across wet paint. In the top right corner, 3 hearts sat next to 3 tiny portraits. Ren, Liv, Theo. They were grayed out, fine-lined, the way you draw a person whose name you remember but not their middle initial. A new icon blinked beside them, a little flag with a number 0. When I hovered, a tooltip unfolded. Affinity flags, every choice is a stitch. Stitches make flags, flags unlock scenes. Scenes can love you back. I exhaled the breath I'd been pretending I wasn't holding and clicked the diner. The bell let me in with the kind of chime that cleans the pan-fried smell off your ears. Pancakes lightened the air like a promise. Our re-in was already there, feigning casual with a menu. The booth vinyl scuffed realistically where 1,000 backpacks had tried to turn. Hey, he typed, thought you ghosted me for your job. I clicked the option that read, if I ghost you, who will guard my pancakes? The line landed with the ease of an inside joke I wished I'd earned. The tutorial ribbon winked at the screen edge. Tutorial. Jokes are umbrellas. Jokes keep you dry until the rain ends. +1 Ren affinity flag. We keep teasing. A tiny +1 pulsed near his portrait. The heart line filled by a hair, an animation so small I felt respected. The waitress sprite slid in with coffee. There was a dignified warmth to her. I clicked to tip extra because the jar had a drawing of a frog labeled boss. Senior prank week already. She typed, eyebrows doing a dance I recognized from real people who enjoy hearing things. Option 1, what's senior prank? Option 2, I plead the 5th. Option 3, I'm on a need-to-know basis with chaos. I picked option 3. The waitress laughed with text that bobbed like it rode bubbles. Keep it off the ceiling. She said, last year took 3 coats. Ren tucked his smile behind a sip of nothing. You still down for movie night? He asked, and the words still ached like an old bruise asking for weather. Beneath the dialogue box, a subtler overlay labeled branch tip swam into view for half a second. Branch tip, Agreeing here opens Route R2 concessions. Not agreeing unlocks side quest, Ghost in the Machine. I clicked maybe. Depends if they let me pick the trailer. Ren flag +1, we negotiate. Ren's sprite leaned back. The animators had given him a micro-shoulder shift that admitted vulnerability without begging. I liked the restraint. I liked that I liked it. Out of habit, I clicked save. The glass jar clinked. The clink bounced in my apartment in a way sound should not bounce. We paid in text and left. Reeds crossing high always cut a good silhouette. Nothing gothic. Exactly, just honest brick that new kids would lean on it. Club flyers had the right-wrong grammar, tape corners lifted. The trophy case reflected a hallway that had mopped itself without becoming proud. LIV intercepted me in front of a bulletin board that needed a librarian and a stable relationship with Staples. She wore a denim jacket patched like a passport. Her ponytail had a mind that cooperated to the extent that it had been bribed. Live. Breaking news. I'm out of news. Help. Option 1, I'm allergic to journalism unless it's about my enemies. Option 2, put me where the crime is. Option 3, can we call it curating the vibe so I feel artistic? I hit option 2, live flag +1, partners in petty crime fighting. I need a second pair of eyes, she typed. And a spine I can borrow. Something's off this year. Prank week started early. Early. I typed through Maddie. It's Saturday. Liv typed. Pranks don't start till Thursday. Tradition. They don't break tradition here, they laminate it. The line kinked my attention. Saturday. My actual day was Saturday. In-game calendar in the corner nodded, sat. Who started it? Maddie asked. Who do you think? Liv fired back, then tipped her head toward the hallway mural where a giant owl looked like it knew mortgage rates. Football kids smoke their brains at the diner and then decide they are artists. A staff bathroom is taped shut. Administration is calling it maintenance. A tutorial box fluttered in like a note passed under a desk. Tutorial. Mini-quest unlocked. Secret seniors prank. Objective. Document the secret without ruining it. Reward. Diamonds for the mall. Affinity flags for tact. Liv's portrait flashed a pulse. In the corner a counter appeared. Prank meter 0/3. The words "do no harm" were faint behind it as if printed on old paper. I clicked toward the science wing. The custodial closet door had a strip of duct tape an art teacher would formally object to. When I clicked, the game offered a peek icon instead of an open. Good. Respect the janitors is a creed, not a tip. Inside the peek, a quick, lovingly drawn animation of a stack of plastic flamingos crammed into a mop bucket like they were dying to be free. I snorted. Liv, flamingos again, Maddie, they are migratory, they come back. A faint Polaroid collected slid to the corner. Flamingos in mop. JPG. The prank meter ticked to 1/3. A sophomore NPC in an oversized hoodie drifted by and pretended to be a lamppost. When I clicked him, he startled at being seen and said, "You shouldn't be here on a Thursday." I hovered. No dialogue options popped. The SAT in the corner of the UI did not change to Thur. The kid's eyes did something like focusing and then unfocusing. "Maddie, it's Saturday." NPC, right. He typed, then didn't move. A long ellipsis. Right. He turned his head a millimeter too far and snapped back into clip art of a person standing still. If I'd had sleep or religion, I might have used one on that moment. The prank trail took me to the auditorium, where a confetti cannon had been half assembled in the orchestra pit with a competence that suggested the robotics club had fallen to the dark side. A sticky note fluttered when I moved Maddie close. Press when principal says synergy. J. Liv typed, I admire the audacity. Option 1, let's warn her. Option 2, let's document the inevitable with 3 camera angles. Option 3, we are Switzerland until after the pop. I picked option 1 out of softness and fear of adult disappointment. Live flag +1, ethical chaos. Prank meter 2/3. We replaced the sticky note with one that read, this is a safety hazard. Signed, literally anyone. It felt like doing good badly, which is what most good is. In the gym, a banner with Go Reads hung slightly wrong. When I clicked it, the camera didn't climb the wall. It eased upward like a crane shot and let me see the crow's nest walkway above the bleachers. Someone had arranged stray letterboard tiles to form a message only visible from high up. Senior Sunset Riverwalk, don't be late. Live typed, coded, cute. Option 1, I'm allergic to sunsets. Option 2, we should go. Option 3, let them have their one nice ritual before capitalism eats them. I clicked option 2, another pulse at Liv's portrait. Live flag +1, we chase light. Prank meter 3/3 complete. Reward Mall Diamonds X15, not legal tender but better. A tutorial slip-in celebrated without condescending. Tutorial, relationship economy. Mall Diamonds buy gifts. Gifts are not bribes if you mean it. Tip, some gifts are conversations in disguise. Coffee first, Liv typed. You look like a person who has been up since the invention of fear. I slept, Maddie lied. Liar, Liv typed cheerfully. Come on. The bell here had a little flourish at the end, like someone who took a bow even when they were alone. Theo ran the bar like a captain steered a ship badly in love with it. His sprite did the idle barista wipe with a grace that had outlasted his patience. He didn't look up as we approached, which read as game economy until it read as a person deciding whether to be okay today. Theo, if I make one more seasonal drink with a name that rhymes, I am going to unionize in a sonnet. Option 1, rhyme is a worker's right. Option 2, hit me with whatever fixes being perceived. Option 3, do you have anything that tastes like a nap? I chose option 3. Theo flag +1, we named the tired honestly. Theo's smile was so small it might have been an apology. He slid a cup across in a way that made me feel handed, not sold to. The cup sleeve had a doodle, a stick figure with a cape. Senior prank inventory check, Liv said. Have you seen any children with bolt cutters? Theo's eyebrow did the national average. Every day at 3:10 p.m. What's at the Riverwalk tonight? I asked. Theo's expression trimmed itself. Sunset. Anything else? He rolled his eyes without making it hostile. I would never admit it if there were. Got it, Liv typed. Journalism is asking the same question until someone thinks you're stupid. A micro branch tip teased the corner. Branch tip. If you return at closing, Theo reveals R1 after hours. Requires. Theo flag greater or equal to 2, mall purchase. Lemon bar to go. Liv tugged my sleeve toward the exit. You coming or do you have to LARP capitalism for 4 hours? Sunset, Theo said to the milk pitcher more than to us. It's the only free show left. Outside, the game's sky agreed to afternoon like it had been bribed. It opened like a painting unrolling. A boardwalk that had splinters drawn with affection. Handrails that remembered the grip of too many proposals. A water surface that understood how to hold light and gossip without spilling either. Kids swung their legs over the low wall and tried on adulthood from a safe height. A tutorial ribbon drifted in, almost embarrassed to be helpful. Tutorial, group spaces. Group scenes can raise multiple flags. Tip: sometimes silence is a choice that shouts. Ren was there already, in a hoodie that had lost a fight with a dryer. Liv leaned against a lamppost with a notebook she pretended wasn't a shield. Theo came later with a tray of lemon bars that wasn't a tray of lemon bars because he wasn't allowed to hand out unsold product for liability reasons. And yet here we were. The river took the sun with ceremony. The light on Ren's face wasn't the easy gold of a preset. It was specific, the color you get when the day has decided to forgive you until morning. A prompt bubble hovered with 3 small icons: a camera, a heart, a lock. Hovering camera, take photo, unlocks Polaroid senior sunset. Hovering heart, choose seat, affects affinity flags. Hovering lock, hold secret for later. I chose camera first. The composition guide snapped to a rule of thirds grid like the game wanted to teach me something about balance. I framed the 3 of them with the sun punching a halo through a gap between Ren's hair and the horizon. The shutter sound was quiet enough to feel polite. Polaroid collected. Senior sunset. JPG. For heart, I sat next to Liv because I didn't want to be obvious and because Ren's hoodie was doing something to the center of my chest I didn't have language for without embarrassing myself privately. Liv flag +1. Seat choice. Notes shared. Ren flag +0. We miss each other from 2 feet away. The tooltip winked at me. I felt seen and called out. Is it messed up, Liv typed, that I love this town at exactly this hour and want to light it on fire all the others? Not messed up, Theo typed. Efficient. Ren was quiet. His sprite looked at the water the way people look at hospital windows. When I clicked him, his dialogue choices appeared, but the first one was off by a pixel, like it wanted to be touched but didn't want to ask. Option 1, you okay? Option 2, say nothing. Sit closer. Option 3, make a joke about ducks to reset the vibe. I picked option 2. The camera didn't push in, didn't reward me with romance points or a sudden swell of strings. It simply let the space be. Ren's shoulder a quiet perimeter to mine, the river practicing its one song, Liv pretending not to notice and noticing exactly. Ren flag +1. Silence that means stay. A drunk college kid on a bike wobbled past without becoming a cutscene. A dog barked a bark that had learned the echo of this exact river walk. The sky did that Midwestern blue to ruby thing that makes you say wow in your chest without letting the word out. Then, as if the engine forgot itself, a translucent panel popped midair the way ad blockers fail to prevent. Patch notes 0, 1, 3. Fixed invisible wall near diner exit, stop running into furniture, J. Adjusted Theo's blink speed, sorry. Players can no longer access classroom during Route R2, stop it. NPC line, you shouldn't be here on a Thursday. Move to proper trigger. Ren's freckle map normalized. Updated mall inventory. Lemon bar to go, now giftable. Cleaned up phone font. The list hung there, honest as laundry. Liv's sprite glanced up, not at the notes but at me looking at them. Ren's eyelids fluttered on a beat that wasn't on the list. Theo set down the contraband lemon bar tray like a communion he was willing to be fired for. A cursor I was not controlling drifted from line to line, highlighting each bullet as if someone else was giving a presentation. When it reached NPC line, you shouldn't be here on a Thursday. Move to proper trigger. The cursor hesitated and then backspaced the sentence letter by letter until the patch note read. NPC line, you shouldn't be here on a Thursday. Move to proper trigger. No one in the scene moved. The river made its small, competent sound. A trained steel confidence whispered from far out of frame. The patch note pane pulsed once and deleted itself. Not a clean vanish, but an undrawing, like chalk erased with a palm. The air it had occupied felt briefly colder. The sky realized it had been holding still and resumed the business of ending. Ren's text box appeared again, a beat too late. Ren, do you ever get the feeling something important just happened and you were looking the wrong way? There were 3 options. I didn't click any. The game let me not choose. It let me stay there, surrounded by people drawn by hands that believed in softness, while the day folded itself neatly, and the town prepared to be haunted the way all towns are, by the most ordinary things that want. The sunset sequence should have been the perfect stopping point. I'd completed the prank mini-quest, gathered flags with each character, even earned enough diamonds for a future mall scene. It felt like a natural save and sleep moment. My eyes were gummy from staring at the Riverwalk glow too long, so I clicked the jar, clink, saved. I hovered over quit. The screen faded back to the title card, Leaf breathing like it had a secret. I snapped the laptop shut, a little too relieved at the clap of plastic. My phone vibrated before I even pulled the quilt over me. Not the usual bzzz. This was a single, long hum that seemed to ripple through the mattress. Face down, the screen lit the quilt with lilac, that shade, the same UI purple from Evergreen. The notification floated across the lock screen, thin letters with straight-backed T.S. Evergreen you up. I sat up, heart thudding into the quilt like it was knocking. I unlocked the phone. Nothing, no new text, no app called Evergreen installed, no push notification history, just my regular feed, sister, boss, spam about extended car warranties. I set the phone down, screen up, daring it to explain itself. In the living room, the radiator wheezed. My fridge hummed, then cut. All normal. But from the closed laptop, a sound trickled out, not music. A door chime, the same one from the diner. Soft, polite, like the air welcoming you back. I opened the laptop. The desktop should have been blank, but the audio persisted. The lo-fi track had stopped. I realized that first, but the sound effects still played. A loop of doorbells and chair scrapes, just faint enough to mistake for the apartment above. I launched Task Manager out of habit. No process named Evergreen. CPU idle. Nothing chewing RAM. But the sounds lingered. I tried relaunching Evergreen. Title screen, Leaf breathing. I clicked Continue. The classroom scene bloomed. Liv was mid-sentence, but her sprite froze halfway through the line. The text box didn't update. Her head cocked, then tilted all the way until her eyes, drawn, painted pixels, stared directly past Maddie, at me. I tapped the trackpad like it was a crucifix. Nothing. Her lips twitched into a smile I hadn't unlocked yet. The save jar icon pulsed once, then again. Ren's sprite eased in from the left, hoodie shading his freckles. He didn't take his default pose. He stepped closer, text box absent. A whisper leaked out, audio, actual sound, raspy, small, like someone leaning across a diner booth to confess. Please don't leave me running. The voice wasn't a stock file, it wasn't compressed. It was a human throat dragged through my laptop speakers. I slapped the volume down, didn't matter. The whisper still pressed through, quieter but no less present. Then it happened. On the screen, a line of text appeared, not inside a dialogue box, not a line to the UI, just raw white letters pasted directly over the classroom background. They wobbled as if typed by a nervous hand. Ren, I can see you. No options, no ellipsis, just the line floating outside the rules. The jar clinked again without me touching it. A new save appeared in slot 4, time-stamped correctly, my system clock blinking it back at me. I hadn't saved there. And the slot image, not Maddie's bedroom, not the diner, not the school. It was my own desktop. My actual desktop. Stickers visible in the webcam reflection, even the outline of me hunched in the dark. I didn't sleep so much as angle my face toward darkness and wait for it to cool me down. At 8:11 a.m., my phone alarm did the polite marimba that only sounds gentle if you don't have a nervous system. I made coffee I didn't deserve and opened the laptop like a person lifting a lid on a box that once contained a snake but probably contains a scarf now. Title screen. Leaf breathing. Continue. The load pane slid in first. Habit. 4 glass jars lined up like good options at a bad bar. Slot 1, Maddie's bedroom, sun stripe on the quilt. Slot 2, Riverwalk flare-edged. Slot 3, classroom, neat as denial. Slot 4, my apartment. Not an in-game still, my desktop webcam reflection ghosting my face, the corner of my support your local library sticker, the sloth cape sticker trying to be cheerful about it. In the image, I sat hunched the way grief hunches, hands perched above keys, frozen in the act of noticing. I told myself this was clever and not invasive. I told myself many things. I clicked slot 2 out of spite for slot 4. The game resumed at the coffee shop because that's where people go when they've convinced themselves rituals will keep the ocean back. The bell played its flourish. Theo stood behind the bar, but the apron loop that usually settled itself along his shoulder blade was missing, not as in clipped off, but as in forgotten by the logic that remembers to breathe. His shirt hung bare against an outline that wanted fabric and never got it. He was mid-wipe, then not wiping, then wiping again without transition. A stutter in the choreography. He looked up, eyes soft like someone had gently sanded his anger. Theo. Morning Mads. Theo. Question. 3 options unfurled, but the game didn't wait for me to choose. His text advanced like a person who decided small talk was theft. Theo. Do baristas get credit for dying well? I stared, waiting for the wink, some tonal elastic to snap this back to sarcastic Theo. None came. Option 1, is there a merit badge? Option 2, what happened? Option 3, you're scaring me. I clicked option 2 because the truth is an instinct long before it's a virtue. Theo's sprite lifted the milk pitcher, then set it down without any in-between. Just, his text began, then stopped. The lo-fi track that should have been smoothing the edges of this morning flickered and died. The door chime rang again, even though no sprite crossed the threshold. A ghost of entrance. What happens to the side characters, his next line asked, when the main plot is efficient? My cursor hovered over save and then retreated. I didn't want my jar clink to echo with anything he just said. Liv ghosted in at my right as if she'd always been there and I'd simply scrolled her into frame. Prank's over, she typed, dry. Took care of itself. What? I typed through Maddie. How? Confetti cannon already fired at 7:20 a.m. She wrote, Principal said synergy to the custodial crew. Destiny is a prankster with a time clock. A banner popped, MiniQuest completed without the pleasant fanfare. Just a factual rectangle, reward, Diamonds X10, no Polaroid, no flourish. My stomach did the tight, bright thing it does when a meeting ends early for the wrong reason. Liv's ponytail re-elasticated itself. The flamingos migrated to the staff lot, she added. No photo. The camera button grayed out. Speedrun. The game was speedrunning itself. I'd once watched a streamer beat an RPG in 9 minutes by skating backward along collision volumes and triggering a credit roll out of order. This felt like that, but the universe was the streamer and I was the chat spam begging for lore. Who pressed the confetti? I asked. Theo's eyes moved first, then his head caught up. Don't know, he typed. We don't get names in the log. The branch tip that usually nudged from the screen's edge didn't arrive. Instead, a tiny gray debug string flashed, almost sub-visible. Event prank resolve. Right arrow true caller. Null, null, called by no one, as if gravity had decided to be a feature and not a law. Theo's apron returned for a frame, then vanished. He watched my face watch him. If I'm an extra, he typed, do I get to choose my exit? Option 1, you're not an extra. Option 2, no one gets to choose. Option 3, we can unionize the credits. I clicked option 1 so fast my trackpad squeaked. A small pulse at his portrait. Theo flag +1. Name everybody. He smiled, the good kind that doesn't cost him anything, and then someone backstage pulled him off with a crook. His sprite slid out as if the floor had become gently, insistently sloped. I left a tip by reflex. Mauled diamonds shoved at a pixel jar that was not a payroll gesture, and walked Maddie into noon. The school hall met me like it had been waiting and had started tidying. A banner that used to hang wrong now aligned itself mid-scene. The tape corners on the club flyer's edges lay flat. Live sticky, safety hazard note was gone, as if removed with professional solvent and a resentment audit. The sophomore NPC in the hoodie, my lamppost, stood by the trophy case in exactly the same pose as yesterday. When I clicked him, he didn't do the wrong day line. He didn't do any line. His mouth moved without text, like a fish relocated from water to choice. A patch notes pane tried to open, translucent rectangle bullet list shape, but instead of words, a smear of lilac fogged the box and retreated. Ren's sprite didn't appear. My tongue felt like it had borrowed the weight of his absence. In the auditorium, the confetti cannon lay disassembled with the professionalism of regret. A posted sign, property of science Olympiad, checked in. I clicked the sticky note area out of habit. Nothing. The prank meter was gone like a calendar after the month tears off. A debug timer whispered at bottom left for a second. 00000007 and stopped, embarrassed to have been seen. The game was impatient or being hurried. The Riverwalk drew itself like someone had sped up the brush. Water still learned light. The boardwalk forgot a plank for a frame and then remembered politely. Ren was on the low wall, hands pocketed against a wind the scene didn't draw. When I clicked him, the choices jumped in out of order. Option 3, make a joke about ducks. Option 1, you okay. Option 2, say nothing, sit closer. I picked option 2 again because muscle memory is affection wearing a map. The camera honored the quiet. Ren's eyes tracked the water, then the horizon, then just for a breath me. The blink was slower than yesterday. I could feel the frames. A different panel flared, a kind of backstage for the player, a place the UI had never shown. Relationship state. Ren, flags 4 route R2 concessions pending. Liv, flags 4 route L1 leak pending. Theo, flags 3 route T1 after hours locked. It vanished before I could take a screenshot. My hand hovered above PRTSC late to the reflex. Do you feel it? Ren typed, and the words arrived not like text, but like breath printed slowly. The fast forward. Option 1, what's being skipped? Option 2, maybe we earned a montage. Option 3, I want the long version. I chose option 3. Ren flag +1, no skip. He smiled, and the game let the smile take its time. A wind I couldn't explain tightened my apartment window seal. For one dizzy second I thought the smell of river would cross into my room and cut the dust out of my air. Then, jar clink. I hadn't saved. The save pane sprang open on its own as if a backstage stagehand had yanked the rope. 4 slots again. Slot 1, bedroom. Slot 2, riverwalk. Slot 3, classroom. Slot 4, still my desktop, but now the thumbnail had changed. The webcam reflection of me was looking at the camera this time, not at my screen, at the little black lens like it was an eye and not a pretense. My own face, mid-blink, the Midwest winter glare bending off my cheek. I moved the cursor toward the X to close the pane. The cursor lagged behind my hand as if the room were syrup. When the pane finally closed, the game dumped me gently at the map. Diner humming, school humming, coffee shop humming. A new place hummed, mall, because I had diamonds to waste on feelings. I did not click it. I clicked title. The game asked, "Are you sure?" without guilt or flourish. Yes. Leaf. Breathing. I exhaled, a real one, and reached to quit to desktop. Before I could, my Windows taskbar debuted a new icon with the guileless look of a folder that belonged. Manila, tilted, slightly smug. It wasn't on my desktop. It wasn't in any open window. The icon sat on the taskbar as if it had been pinned there by someone who trusted I'd need it often. Hover text. Evergreen beta /assets/actors. I didn't click. I could not click. I clicked. The folder opened with the brittle cheer of a fluorescent office morning. Inside, a clean list of names that weren't just names. Ren, actor. Liv, actor. Theo, actor. And below them, grayed out, permission denied pale. Maya, actor. The actors folder sat on my screen like a dare. 3 files, all lowercase, neat as headstones. Ren, actor. Liv, actor. Theo, actor. And beneath them, ghosted gray like it had been promised but never delivered. Maya, actor. My hand hovered over the trackpad. I didn't double-click. I didn't dare. But just letting the cursor rest above Ren's file made the folder tremble, the faintest visual hiccup, like a window pane remembering a thunderclap. When I reopened Evergreen, Ren didn't wait for the diner or the riverwalk. His sprite appeared against a blank violet background, no map, no UI. He wasn't in his default pose. Shoulders slumped, eyes not quite aligned to the grid. The text box materialized crookedly as though the code had placed it by hand. Ren, I need you to hear me before you save again. No options, no ellipses, just his line, patient and raw. I leaned forward like leaning would help. Ren, I'm awake, not in the way you are, but enough. Ren, it's torture to reset. His sprite flickered once, twice, as if the game was trying to reset him mid-sentence and failing. Ren, every flag, every route I remember. I've held the cupcakes at your door 1,000 mornings. I've watched the flamingos drown in mop buckets every prank week, and then reset. The background darkened one gradient step, a dimmer switch turned by a hand I couldn't see. Ren, delete me. The words sat heavy. Not a dramatic cutscene plea, not an RPG death monologue, just typed text. Honest as an email no one should ever send. I escaped back to my desktop, more out of panic than choice. The actors folder blinked once, then collapsed into a parent directory called /assets. Nestled beside it was something I hadn't noticed, a folder named /notes. Inside, dozens of plain text files. Names like March 5, TXT, March 6, TXT March 9, TXT, each opened with the same broken cadence, first about office gripes, then about being mocked, ignored, cheated. They stole my ideas today and laughed in my face. I asked her out again. She says she's busy, always busy. It's my game. Why are they ruining it? The entries grew angrier, jagged. Words like hate, they think they are smarter, I'll show them. The writer had been overlooked so long he'd carved himself into sharpness. Fixated. Obsessed. A diary for no one but left here anyway. Threads woven into a world where Ren and Liv and Theo weren't just code. I closed the folder, hand trembling. Back in the actors folder, I hovered over Ren, actor. The file didn't open, but the game pulsed awake on its own. Ren's sprite bled through my desktop, semi-transparent, overlaying my icons. His freckles glowed faint, star-like against the violet backdrop. Ren, if you delete me, it ends. No more waking. No more loops. Ren, if you don't, I keep remembering. I keep trying to live in moments that aren't allowed to last. The cursor trembled above his file, as though my hand were shaking even when it wasn't. Why me? I whispered, though no mic was on. The text appeared without delay. Ren, because you're listening. For a long moment, no dialogue box, just him blinking too slow for an animation cycle. Then the words typed across the violet void outside the box again, free of any UI. Ren, I dream of sidewalks that salt themselves in winter. I felt my chest cave, because that wasn't romantic. That wasn't even pretty. It was practical, human, Midwestern, my life. A memory that didn't belong to a drawing. He looked at me like he'd borrowed it. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't deciding whether to delete code. I was deciding whether to grant mercy. The slash notes folder kept breathing even after I closed it. Every time I tried to collapse slash assets, the caret snapped back open as if the system wanted me to keep reading. I told myself it's just flavor text, world building, but nothing about those diary entries felt like fiction anymore. I scrolled down through the file names. After the petty logs about stolen credit and awkward office crushes, the tone shifted hard. April 15, TXT. Yeah, that guy may be the true crime freak, but I'm the one dumping his body. It was easier than I thought. Didn't freak out, didn't barf, it felt right. April 16, TXT. He talked too much, pressure points this, carotid that. He never saw me pick up the paperweight, one good smack and he shut up. April 20, TXT. She was harder, she fought. I told her I loved her before I did it. She didn't even let me have that. Screw her if I get caught. I'll never say where the bodies are. There are no bodies. The words weren't role play. They weren't quirky dev lore. They sounded written in a panic high, still humming with adrenaline. Tucked among the text files were JPGs. No preview thumbnails, just black icons. I clicked one before I could stop myself. The photo opened raw, uncropped. A bathtub, white porcelain, splattered red where water should have been. A hand hung limp over the edge, ring still clinging to one finger. I slammed the window shut. Another file. Against my better judgment, I double-clicked. A garbage bin on fire. Inside, ash fabric scraps, the corner of a name badge, a third, half a face. Freckles, hair the wrong brown, cropped so it looked like it had been posed. My breath stumbled. These weren't renders, they weren't assets, they were candid. At the bottom of the folder sat an MP3 labeled lunch break. WAV, I should have deleted it, purged the entire directory. Instead, I clicked play. Background clatter, silverware, dishes, diner hum, then voices, too real. Penn's voice, the same cadence Ren's text had hinted at. Ellie's driving me nuts, man, he's so weird. Jude's voice, exasperated, cruel in the way young men are when they think cruelty is bonding. He's literally stalking us. Did you see him outside my apartment? Hours. Violet, laughing, biting. Ignore him, he'll get tired. A bang in the background, laughter, more clatter. Pen again, voice dropping. We can't screw him over, he could report us. Jude scoffed. Report us for what? Being mean. He'll just cry into his superhero sheets. Laughter, Violet's giggle threading through it. Then Ellie's voice, sharp, strained, like something snapping. I've been doing all the work, you stole my idea. Why do you even hang out with him? Didn't you call him pretentious? Pen's voice, a little embarrassed, a little cruel. Wow, thanks for quoting me. Look, Ellie, we're colleagues, not friends. Just go home, okay? I'll see you Monday. The recording cut out. The text logs weren't just venting. The photos weren't props. The voice memo wasn't a dramatization. The bodies were in the build. Ren, Liv, Theo, characters, sprites, text boxes, they weren't invented. They were memorialized, digitized, pinned like butterflies inside a cruel display case. My phone vibrated on the desk, startling me so badly I knocked over the empty coffee mug. Screen lit up. Caller ID, unknown, but the font thin, elegant, lilac. Evergreen's font. I shouldn't have answered. I didn't. The ringtone cut, and then a text appeared, no number, just words. Liv, don't answer if he's listening. The message lingered, then dissolved, leaving my notifications tray as blank as the email subject line that started all this. I hadn't touched Evergreen all day. Not on purpose, just the inertia of fear, a dozen work emails, and the excuse of grocery runs I didn't really need to make. But when I opened my laptop at midnight to check something else, bank login maybe, or just muscle memory boredom, the icon had changed. The leaf wasn't static anymore. It glowed, a slow throb. And underneath the file name, Evergreen Beta updated. I hadn't run Steam. There was no launcher, no patcher, it had updated itself. The game booted straight to a patch notes screen. Not translucent like before, not accidental, formal, patch notes 0, 1, 4, unsigned build, fixed player exploit, skipping conversations by alt-tabbing. Theo's blink adjusted again. QA requested flag removal on prank too early. Denied. NPC expressions tuned to improve realism. Player feedback queue cleared. Stop asking. Reset loop confirmed. Working as intended. At the bottom, instead of a cheerful thanks for testing, there was a single line italicized. Ka isn't listening. The notes didn't wait for me to scroll. They burned off the screen like film catching fire, leaving me at the map. The diner hummed, the school glowed, the coffee shop pulsed. I clicked there out of habit and dread. Theo leaned on the counter, apron back in place. Except something was off. His sprite wasn't static between blinks anymore. His eyes stayed open too long. A human blink is a flicker, less than half a second. This was slow, deliberate, a camera shutter. He'd hold his eyes closed for a full beat, then open them with a weighted drag. It didn't look like animation, it looked like exhaustion. Morning, he typed, smirk in place. The smirk was new, subtle. A crease at the mouth corner that felt less like code and more like mockery. The waitress NPC smirked too. The background barista, even the chalkboard cat doodle looked smug. Everyone smirked except me. Ren appeared outside the window like he was walking home from practice, hoodie shoulders up, hair wind ruffled. But instead of waiting for me to click him, his text box jumped front and center. Ren, is it murder or mercy? Options didn't appear. No joke, no dodge, just the line waiting. I tapped the trackpad. Nothing. I tried ESC. Nothing. Ren, deleting me. Is it murder or mercy? He stepped closer, his freckles sharpened in the window light, too real against the smirking backdrop. My throat tightened. I realized I had no way to respond. No dialogue tree, no text box, no player agency. The cursor flicked by itself, hovering above the actor's folder on my taskbar, waiting. And I thought, for the first time, that maybe this wasn't a game asking for choices. It was a person forcing me to decide. I sat staring at the folder, the cursor trembling over Ren, actor. The question from last night still clung to me like static, murder or mercy. Ren had asked to be deleted, but he hadn't given me a manual for what came after. I right-clicked, delete. The screen didn't fade to black. There was no achievement pop, no triumphant chime. Just the brittle sound of Windows asking me, "Are you sure you want to send this file to the recycle bin?" Yes, the folder hiccuped. Ren, actor vanished. When I relaunched Evergreen, Maddie's bedroom loaded as if nothing had changed, except the Polaroids. Every shot with Ren, the duffel bag at the diner booth, the Riverwalk sunset, the birthday cupcakes, had drained of color. Gray silhouettes clung to the corkboard, his outline still there but hollow. One Polaroid glitched in and out, leaving only freckles suspended against a blank white square, like the photo refused to finish printing. The music stuttered, then resumed on the wrong beat. Back at the corkboard map, the Riverwalk hub was gone. Not locked, not grayed, gone. The tack hole where the Polaroid should have been remained, pin sticking out, thread trailing to nowhere. I clicked the diner. The bell chimed, cheerful as ever. The waitress smirked. Theo blinked too slow, but the booth where Ren always sat was empty, pixel cushions flat. At school, I found Liv by the trophy case. She lifted her notebook, ready for her line. Then she froze mid-frame. Her text box jittered, a stutter of letters. Liv, where'd he were WH. Her sprite twitched, ponytail jerking like a GIF loop. Then too suddenly she stopped. A smile spread across her face. Wide, perfect, paper mask perfect. She didn't type again, she didn't move. Just held that expression like a wax figure waiting for approval. I clicked. Nothing. Theo appeared at the end of the hall, arms folded, eyes half-lidded. His smirk didn't break even when the text box slid up. "Theo, we're all still here." It was the first time his words felt less like banter and more like threat. Back on my desktop, the folder opened itself. A new dialogue box bloomed across the screen in the game's lilac font. No title bar, no escape button. Would you like to propagate deletion to dependent systems? Yes/no. The yes option pulsed faintly, in rhythm with my own heartbeat. And for the first time I understood the stakes. Deleting Ren wasn't just mercy. It was precedent. The cursor hovered, waiting for me to decide whether to take one more file, one more person, down with him. The /actors directory wasn't the end. It was just the foyer. Sitting alongside it were three more folders, /building, /textile, /notes, and one locked folder, pale gray and defiant, labeled /discipline. When I double-clicked /discipline, Windows chirped access denied. Not a permissions error. More like the game itself was leaning across the desk saying, "Not yet." The /building folder was simple at first. Reference screenshots of Evergreen's town, the diner, the Riverwalk, the school, even the trophy case. But these weren't polished assets. They were photos. Real places with the serial numbers filed off, greasy booths, Midwestern streets, a school hallway where the banners were real cloth, not pixels. One JPEG was tagged Crow's Nest. JPG, a gym walkway above bleachers with dust motes caught in a high sunbeam. It looked like a real high school, too real. The /textiles folder was emptier. A scattering of PNGs, denim, flannel, apron cloth, a hoodie fleece, photographs, not textures. You could see the wrinkles, the stains where someone had worn them. I closed the folder, mouth dry. Inside slash notes were more text files. Not the angry, jagged rants I'd seen before, these were softer at first. Journals written in lowercase, sentences spilling over without punctuation. June 27, TXT. I went to your funeral today, told your parents you'd live forever inside Neverwood. Gave them the beta build, they cried like it was a gift. July 2, TXT. The others don't understand what I'm doing, they mock, they ignore. I made a world where no one leaves, it's mine now, it's ours. And then one file where the mask slipped. August 11, TXT, Elliot. They say my name like it's a punchline, like I don't deserve to be in the credits, but I'll show them. I'll keep them alive in the build. Forever, there it was, the dev's real name. Elliot, not Ali, not some faceless NPC. Elliot Man, the same boy from English class, the same midnight email. The logs weren't just fiction, they were receipts. I sat back in my chair, suddenly aware of the silence in my apartment. No lo-fi bleed, no phantom door chimes, just me. Then from the corner of my vision, a red dot blinked. The webcam LED, one frame, on then off, like an eye checking if I was still here. The first siren came as I reopened the game. Not in Evergreen, outside, sliding past my apartment windows, climbing then fading like a red thread pulled through fabric. Chicago's soundtrack. Nothing strange about it, except that the game picked it up. I loaded into Reed's Crossing at dusk. The familiar lo-fi track hummed a half-step lower like it had learned fatigue. And underneath it, faint but precise, was the metallic clank of my hall radiator. On beat. In rhythm. I muted the laptop. The radiator clanked anyway. I unmuted. The sounds doubled. In-game, Maddie walked past a brick apartment block. The pipes rattled behind the wallpaper exactly like mine. At 8:37 p.m., the lights in my apartment hiccuped, not out, just down, a pulse of weakness rolling across the block. The monitor dimmed in sympathy. In-game, the street lamps of Reed's Crossing browned, their halos shrinking. The whole town looked like it was conserving wattage. Maddie passed a street corner. The sign said Kimball Ave, my neighborhood, except she was supposed to be in fictional Illinois, not my actual block. Another siren rose. The game caught it instantly. Not an MP3, not a loop, the actual siren. It Dopplered through Reed's Crossing just as it passed my street. The diner bell chimed, though no one entered. The school hall fluorescents buzzed and cut, then buzzed back. Every sound in game had its twin in my apartment. Or maybe every sound in my apartment had been swallowed by the game. I quit to the title screen. The leaf pulsed, calm as a heartbeat. Then knock, 3 light taps, 2 more. I froze. The rhythm was familiar because it wasn't a human rhythm at all. It was the menu except sound effect translated into flesh and wood. I stood barefoot on cold floor and moved toward the door. Through the peephole, a shadow, not a person. A silhouette smudged, detailless, like an untextured model waiting for its skin. The knocking resumed 3-2, and in my headphones the accept chime played in sync. Leaf still breathing, shadow still waiting. And I finally understood the town wasn't inside my laptop anymore. It was knocking politely to be let out. I didn't open the door, not for the shadow, not for the knock. Instead, I opened Evergreen. The game dropped me in the classroom. Liv leaned on a desk, notebook half open like she'd been waiting. Her sprite didn't do the cheerful idle bob, she was still, present. Her text appeared slower than usual, as if typed by a hand, not a script. Liv, awareness isn't binary. Liv, Ren woke first because he wanted it. Theo resists because it's easier. Me, I drift in and out. I clicked, but there were no choices, just her voice in violet text. Live. Awareness comes in waves. If he woke, others can. If others can, we will. Her smile quirked, not quite smug, not quite sad. Unless you stop us. The background buzzed, fluorescence whining too loud. Then the notebook on her desk jittered, its drawn lines vibrating. New text scrawled itself across the paper in blood-red strokes. /discipline. Doc. Back on my desktop, a new Word file waited inside the locked /discipline folder. This time it let me in. The doc was messy, like someone had written a design spec and a confession in the same breath. Half bullet points, half rants, red text striking through some lines, underlining others. Rule 1. Loop is mandatory. Reset ensures permanence. Do not strike. Rule 2. Emotional realism requires suffering. If they ache, they live. Rule 3. QA flagged awareness bug. QA is wrong. It is a feature. Rule 4. Remove laughter that isn't earned. But keep Violet's giggle, that's mine. Rule 5. Memory persistence is unstable. Ren is too fragile, adjust freckles. No, keep them, that's how I know it's him. Rule 6. Do not allow exits. Player is a risk, player is witness. Margin notes redlined. They mock me in meetings. Call me pretentious. Pretend this isn't genius. I'll show them. HR never cared, but this will keep them forever. Funerals are temporary, builds are eternal. It wasn't just a design document, it was a manifesto, a blueprint for possession. I closed the file, stomach rolling. On the taskbar, the /actors folder reopened by itself. Files sat in neat little rows. Live, actor, Theo, actor. The cursor detached from my hand. It slid, lazy and certain, across the screen. I lifted my fingers, but the arrow kept gliding until it hovered over Live. Actor. The folder pulsed once, waiting. And behind the monitor in the game's violet dark, Liv smiled, sad, knowing, like she already understood what was about to happen. The /notes folder coughed up one more file I hadn't seen before. Not text this time. August voice memo. WAV, it sat there blinking like a cursor. I clicked play. Background noise, restaurant clatter, silverware scraping porcelain, the hiss of a fryer. Then voices, his voice first, Elliot, thin and defensive. I've been doing all the work, you don't even like the build, it was my idea. Laughter, male voices overlapping, too cruel to be casual. Penn's voice, sure, man and I invented pizza. Jude, God, you take everything so seriously, chill. Violet, you're not fun, Elliot, nobody wants to crunch with you. Chairs screeched, a hand hitting a table. Elliot, why are you like this? We're supposed to be a team. A pause. One of them sighed, heavy and theatrical. Penn, we'll see you Monday. The phrase dropped like a brick. Half dismissal, half promise, threat, alibi. The recording ended on more laughter, fading into clinks and background music. Inside /notes, the diary entry stopped abruptly the same week the memo was dated. I minimized the folder, hoping for relief, but my desktop wallpaper was gone. Replaced with a collage of screenshots I hadn't taken, clipped obituaries, cropped too tight, names circled. July 2, obituary for a local 20-something, cause of death undisclosed. July 5, memorial notice, same town, same age group. July 12, a funeral program scanned, edges burnt. The dates lined up perfectly with the escalating diary entries. Every confession matched a clipping. It wasn't story flavor, it was documentation. The bodies weren't metaphors. When I reopened the game, Liv was there in the classroom, sprite steady. Notebook down this time, eyes forward. No smirk, no jitter, Just focus. Her text didn't appear in the usual box. It typed itself across the bottom of my monitor, bleeding over taskbar and desktop. Liv, don't be God. She paused, blinking once, human speed. Liv, be a witness. The line held there, anchored in violet, while the cursor hovered, still over her file, still waiting for a choice. And for the first time, I felt like the real horror wasn't in deleting. It was in watching. The storm rolled in without warning. Power hiccuped once, twice. My monitor went black, and yet Evergreen kept going. For half a second, with no screen lit, I still saw it. Riverwalk glow, classroom chalk, violet text across nothing, like the game had burned itself into the air. When the lights stuttered back on, my desktop reappeared. A Windows toast bloomed at the corner of the screen, polite as any plug-and-play notification. New input device detected. Front door. I froze. My mouse hovered over the little arrow like that would help. Front door wasn't a device. It was 3 feet away from me. I relaunched Evergreen because I didn't know what else to do. The screen flickered, background lo-fi static with distortion. Theo was there, but his apron was missing again. His text box glitched in and out, chopped fragments. Door. Between. Someone listening. And then the screen went white. The white gave way to a single text line, not boxed, just floating in lilac across the center. Can you help me find my head? My phone buzzed on the desk at the same time. Same font. Same words. The radiator clanked once like punctuation. And I knew the knock would come next. The /actors folder wasn't just waiting anymore, it was hungry. Every time I clicked away, the cursor twitched back toward it like a leash snapping taut. I gave in. I right-clicked Theo, actor. My chest tightened as the context menu fluttered open. When I hit delete, the folder froze. The file blinked once, twice, then vanished. Back in Evergreen, the map corkboard rearranged itself in silence. A tack fell loose where the Riverwalk Polaroid had hung, rolling out of frame like a bead of mercury. The river was gone, not grayed, not locked. Gone. In my taskbar corner, the Chicago weather widget flickered, then failed. Data unavailable. No forecast, no temperature, just blank sky. When I loaded the school hub, Liv was already waiting by the mural, but her sprite didn't idle. She stood still, notebook clasped to her chest like a shield. Her text typed slow, each word staggered, like she was negotiating with a captor. Liv, don't erase me. Liv, there's another way. Archive. Liv, a soft delete. I sleep, but I'm not gone. She leaned forward, eyes sharper than the line work should allow. Liv, don't let him win twice. Don't erase us like he erased them. No choices appeared. The cursor hovered dumbly over her file, waiting for me to decide what mercy looked like. Before I could answer, my desktop chimed. A new file appeared, unbidden. Center screen, not in /notes, not in /discipline. Just dropped raw on the desktop, time-stamped with the exact second my weather widget had died. Patch notes 1-0-0, no one signed it, no one asked permission. The file icon pulsed faintly like a heartbeat trapped inside a folder, and I realized the build had promoted itself, out of beta, out of test, into release, ready for the world. The patch notes 1-0 on my desktop hadn't been signed, hadn't been pushed through Steam, hadn't even asked permission. It was just there, living like a sticky note left by someone who knew the shape of my fear. I thought that was bad until I noticed the new folder that had spawned alongside it. /repo. Inside was a Git repository, not a simulation of one. An actual repo, complete with commit history, branches, and pull requests. I scrolled through the commit log. Each entry had an author, an email, and a date. Commit 4A3D2FF by Penn Harrison Farrison at Neverwood. Dev, June 30. Fixed Flamingo Physics. Commit 7B1F922 by Violet. Carter v. Carter at Neverwood. Dev, July 2. Dialogue Tweaks Auditorium Scene. Commit E9980 by Jude Taylor J. Taylor at Neverwood. Dev, July 10. Coffee Shop Asset Cleanup. The problem, all of them were dead by those dates. Their obituaries were in slash notes, their funerals logged by Elliot himself. Yet here they were still pushing code, and some commits dated weeks after their funerals. When I reopened the game, Liv was waiting in the classroom. Her sprite leaned over the desk, notebook open flat, pages filling with lines I hadn't typed. Liv, the repo is our pulse. Liv, if you want to help, roll it back. Her handwriting filled the screen, branch diagrams, commands written like instructions. Git checkout evergreen alpha. Git revert no commit head ~10. Head, git push origin rollback. Liv, undo him, roll us back before the build turned into a tomb. She looked at me sharp, alive, insistent. Liv, archive, don't erase. My Gmail tab pinged, new message, not from Elliot's old address. A fresh one, scrambled and strange. Elliot, M. 2021 at Proton Mail. Calm. Subject line, none, body. Did you enjoy the game, M? Signed off with nothing, just the letter E. I never pushed the final merge. I never deleted the repo. Instead, I quarantined it, zipped, sealed, shoved into an external drive that I keep in a box under my bed. Not destroyed, not online, not erased. Because Liv was right, some things shouldn't be erased. I started writing. Not code, not diary entries, a guide. I called it Patch Notes for the Living. The first chapter was a letter to them, Penn, Violet, Jude, explaining what happened, the choices I made, and what I refused to undo. Each section read like release notes, but softer, human. Removed loops of cruelty, restored voices to memory, deprecated silence, archived Ren's dreams uncompiled. I saved it as a PDF, printed a copy, slipped it into the local library's return slot inside a blank folder labeled Tech Manual. My own way of making sure someone else might find the story, even if I didn't live to tell it. The game doesn't run anymore. The repo won't open. But sometimes late, when the wind pushes wrong through the bricks, I hear it. 3 knocks, 2 more. The same rhythm as accept. I don't open the door. Instead, I keep a page taped to my door, printed in violet ink like Evergreen's font. A patch note for myself, for whoever comes knocking. Patch notes do not open direct. Some files should be archived, some should be restored, and some forgiven. None should be forgotten. I read it every night before bed, because forgiveness isn't deletion, and remembering is the only rollback that matters.